Greetings, metalheads, and a very warm welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George. Today I'm back with another collection update, taking you through a few of the rather excellent CDs that I've picked up recently. Some more new additions to the ever-growing collection, I should say. And it is warm welcomes. In fact, now that spring is finally here in England, we must have enjoyed at least 5 minutes of sun this week. Makes a change. So we're going to start with something which is very seasonally inappropriate now. The latest album from Finnish folk metalers Ensiferum, we've got Winter Storm. So this album actually came out in 2024. I'm a little bit late to the party on this one. I love Ensiferum. I think they're a fantastic band. One of the real standouts of folk metal. Absolutely love it though. Really uplifting stuff. I was a little bit put off by the cost. Again, not Ensiferum's fault, but the cost of the physical was too much for too long. Recently though, the CD dropped down in price. I picked it up on Amazon for £7+. Happy about that. And I'm really happy about it because actually Winter Storm is a great album. It's a really, really strong album. There's not a bad album, in my opinion, in Ensiferum's catalogue, in their impressive discography. Awesome artwork. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how metal that cover is. So much metal. It's just oozing metal. Literally, there is swords and shields and stuff going on. It's all the good stuff. So thematically, you can probably tell it's not too much of a deviation from Ensiferum's usual themes and topics. We've got a very capable lineup here of very talented musicians, good vocals throughout the album. Still need to give it a few more listens. I actually only listened to it, I think 3 or 4 times so far. Still need to give it a few more spins to really get to grips with it, but my initial impressions is that this is a really good album. It continues a fine run of albums. I've really enjoyed some of these more recent Ensiferum albums. Love the older stuff, but I think from Two Paths onwards has been a really, really strong run of albums. Particularly enjoying Winter Storm Vigilantes. Great tracks, so uplifting, strong folky vibes there, of course, but it's a real catchy track. Long Cold Winter of Sorrow and Strife, very, very springtime title that, definitely. Lovely track, some great guitar work, really strong vocals, almost, duets going on. Just across the album, it's a bit of a vocal medley. A rather nice sort of ballady track, Scars in My Heart, featuring Madeline from, I think it's Elaine. I'm not really quite sure on the pronunciation of that band, not familiar with it myself. But a nice ballady piece. Highlight though, probably the From Order to Chaos. Bit of an epic, sort of 8-minute plus track. Really strong though. All round, just a really good album. Strong folk metal from some of the masters. So we got Ensiferum with Winter Storm. Now this is in no particular order. This is literally just the order that I've lifted this update off of the side. But I'm going to kind of jumble it up a little bit. And I'm going to go with probably complete opposite end of the spectrum. But, I'm sure some purists would deem me a traitor for this. But I have always been a bit of a fan of Killswitch Engage. So I'm not a diehard fan, not a really regular follower of Killswitch, but I think they're a great band. Metalcore, are they? Are they not? Are they just kind of modern metal? Dunno. Can't really be bothered with that debate. But what I will say is that this little article, Live at the Palladium, is a really interesting one. It's another kind of lockdown live album scenario here, although I think it was a live streaming event from 2021, so yep, right there in that time. It's an interesting one because it's 2 albums, 2 discs, And actually, there's a Blu-ray of the performance. Haven't seen the Blu-ray, but it's 2 full albums being performed, start to finish. So the most recent album prior to the new album, this was including Atonement. So I guess how many ever years ago that was, 2020, 2021, something like that. It's been out for a few years now, but it's a really good album, I will say. I'm not that familiar with it, shamefully. I also haven't heard the new album, but I was a bit more familiar with the albums prior to that. It's a good album, and it sounds great in this kind of live setting, for the streaming event. And then they go right back to the self-titled album from 2000, performing that in full, with also the inclusion of Just Barely Breathing as well. So it's a really interesting one. You get a lot for your buck here. And this is one of 3 or 4 articles from this little update that I actually picked up on EMP. A good site. I feel like maybe the merchandise is a little bit on the pricey side, but these CDs that I've got here from the site were actually really inexpensive. Picked this up for a tenner, and I thought, you know what, I kind of fancy filling in that gap. Haven't got the new album. I've got all their other albums. Yeah, I like Killswitch. Give them a go. And this is a good show. This is a good performance. Whether or not you're a fan of Killswitch or not, you can't deny they're pretty important band, pretty big following. They've done well for themselves. I wouldn't regard them as a kind of, by modern standards, metalcore band. I think they're more of a modern metal band. They're kind of a little bit something more. I think they've got a magic to them. And in Jesse Leach, they've got a fantastic vocalist. They're all really good musicians, solid lineup, solid band, and this is a nice package, as I say. 3 triple disc, cool thing to have. So for a tenner, it was well worth picking up. Killswitch Engage live at the Palladium. Haven't seen the Blu-ray, but I've listened to the live albums, and it's solid. I'd say it's really good. Keeping things maybe a little bit more heavy, a bit more extreme, certainly a little bit more extreme than Ensiferum. We're actually going complete curveball with Kataklysm from Canada. So Kataklysm are a band that I absolutely freaking love. I think they are a brilliant band. The only album that I didn't have on CD until recently was the Victims of This Fallen World album, which for a long time I hadn't been all that bothered about getting because, to be honest, didn't quite enjoy it. I've listened to it on YouTube, didn't quite enjoy it as much as the first few albums and the latter albums. Albums like Of Ghosts and Gods, absolutely freaking love that album. Goliath was a good one as well. Unconquered, not so good. But Waiting for the End to Come, some brilliant albums there. Some really top-notch death metal albums. But actually, I decided to revisit Victims of This Fallen World, and I was enjoying it more than I thought I would. It was a little bit better than I remembered it being from listening to it in the past. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to track down a physical copy. And I tracked down this version. So this is including a second disc, which is the Northern Hyperblast live album. And what's really cool about this is that it's actually been signed as well. So this is a second-hand copy, of course, but very cool. Yeah, so we've got a signed version here. I do like the fact that it says, "Warning, not recommended for weak minds," on the front of Victims. And then we've got, so it's a nice 2-disc, we've got Northern Hyperblast there as well. Both are a lot better than I was anticipating, I will admit. Still only listened to Victims a few times, but I would say that it's quite a strong album. There are some good numbers here. As My World Burns, a pretty strong opener. We've got Portraits of Anger, Courage Through Hope, Godhead. There's some decent tracks here. Need to give it more listens, and actually I think it's deserving of more listens. Northern Hyperblast, this was the first time I actually really heard it. I think I checked out some tracks before, never listened to the album in full. What I will say is that album is absolutely caustic. It's a really savage recording. It's a really, really savage live album. Of course, it's all the earlier material from the first few albums and releases. Really rough stuff. It's definitely an album, a live album for Kataklysm fans. If you're a fan of this excellent Canadian death metal band, you're probably going to be already familiar with Northern Hyperblast or enjoy it a little bit more. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for a casual listener, but it's strong. I actually quite enjoyed it. I found myself enjoying it the more I was getting familiar with it. So tracks like Exode of Evil, the renditions of Sorcery and Elder God, Beckoning of the Zul, The Awakener. There's some good tracks here, actually. And it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one because I overlooked it for so long. And a cool version that I tracked down. So we've got Kataklysm, something completely different. We've gone from folk metal to metalcore, modern metal to death metal. Love Kataklysm though. Actually revisiting Kataklysm after maybe not listening to them for a little while, months rather than years, but a little while, it's kind of rekindled my love for this band. They are really strong. So a nice cool version there again. Up next, we've got a band, not in this format anyway, but a band that I have been talking about, certainly a musician, a legend that I've been talking about quite a lot here on the channel recently. Chuck Schuldiner, the late great legend, absolute. This is Mantas, the Death by Metal kind of demo collection. So this is one that I have been toying with picking up for many moons. For reasons unknown, I haven't. Probably price and just the fact that because it's not death, tend to forget about it. But if you're not familiar with the story here, Mantas was the little band of unknown musicians, of course, that was formed in the mid-80s, preceding death. So this very, very obscure lineup features Charles Evil Chuck Schuldiner on guitars, vocals, Rick Ross on guitars, and Barney Cam Lee on drums, vocals. So we've got members that then featured in Death, members that featured in Massacre, and lots of other names thereafter. And you know what? This is a demo collection, yeah, absolutely. So it's demo quality, but it's actually really good. It's a really good insight. It's more for fans of Death, I would say, and fans of Chuck. It's an insight into those early, crucial, crucible years of death metal. You know, Chuck, even at that stage, helping to spearhead the death metal movement and writing some pretty extreme stuff for the time. You know, this is the similar sort of time as Repulsion were helping things to really kick off. It's extreme stuff. Not quite the death metal level of Scream Bloody Gore, maybe, but actually tracks like Evil Dead in this incarnation, Power of Darkness, well, Legion of Doom as well. These are good tracks, and you can really hear that kind of early pre-explosion of death metal material. But it's extreme. It's just kind of early death metal. But you know what? This is a interesting insight into that early scene. So we've got Mantas with Death by Metal. An interesting insight, as I say. Pick that up on Amazon for about £6. So well spent. Up next then, we have another band that are a bit of a legacy band, another band I absolutely love, but there's only really a few albums in their discography. This was released in 2012, and for a long time this has been a hard one to get a hold of. This is the rather excellent As Above, So Below. As I say, released in 2012 originally. This is a 2024 reissue, courtesy of Rise Above Records. It's been a hard one to find over the years, so I haven't even bothered trying to bid on a copy or, really put in the effort, because I've seen it for ridiculous money on eBay over the years. So I'm really glad it's finally available, because until now I've only had the legendary debut, of course, absolute classic benchmark album, and their most recent album, Angel of Light. This is a great one. Still got that strong New Album influence there. They're an integral, really important, crucial new wave of British heavy metal band. But I'd say this is, it's heavily on the doomy side. It's a little bit different. There's clearly progression, there's clearly change and development that's happened, which is unsurprisingly going to be the case after 32 years between albums, I think, off the top of my head. Quite some time. But it's a great album. It's definitely Angel Witch. Some brilliant tracks here, though, I would say. Dead Sea Scrolls is a really strong intro. Gebura is, if that's how it's pronounced, is a really great one, as is The Hauler, very doomy. Witching Hour, brilliant. Guillotine, excellent. And Brainwashed, good way to close out the album there. Really strong. I would say this is essential for fans of doomy, witchy heavy metal. Angel Witch, there could have been so much more. We won't go down that rabbit hole today. But as above, so below, strong material. Really, really enjoying that one at this current time. So now we've got 2 articles left, and I'm going to reach for this one first of all. So this is Enforced. They are a relatively new-ish. They've been around for a few years now. They've released, I think, 2 full-length albums. Their debut was like a compilation of some demo material or earlier releases. Anyway, we're talking Enforced. And this was an EP released in 2024. This is A Leap into the Dark. Great cover. Absolutely love it. I believe this outfit hails from Richmond, Virginia, off the top of my head. Really good band. I've been singing the praises of Enforced for a few years now, since Killgrid. Fantastic band. Really, really good. It's that kind of, it's thrash. It's very groovy. It's almost on the cusp of, is it death thrash? Is it not? Certainly packs all the groove and the weight of bands like Power Trip. But I would say that Enforced really do have something quite unique going on there. And this is a fine EP. So this includes 4 new tracks and 2 covers. It's a nice little release, and this was $7.99 on EMP. Struggled to find it elsewhere. Certainly struggled to find it cheaper. I haven't seen it any less than about 12, 13 on eBay, I think. But yeah, this is really good. So you've got 3 brilliant original tracks. You've then got Casket and The Chasers On, which were taken from the Kill Grid recording sessions. I think The Chasers On being a cover of English Dogs. You've also got an obituary cover, Deadly Intentions. This is just a really nice sort of 20-minute EP. Heavy. It's going to get your head banging. It's going to get you moving. Can't wait to hear what Enforced come up with next. Solid stuff. So if you're looking for something riffy and groovy, this is a nice little release. A Leap into the Dark. A nice tie over between the previous and hopefully the next album, which will, be there when it's ready. But Enforced, great band. Thrash, death, just riff central stuff. Great vocals, whole package. So Leap into the Dark. And lastly, we're finishing with another EP. But we're going right back to the early days. Mercyful Fate. Danish heavy metal legends. This is the self-titled EP. So otherwise known sometimes as the Nuns Have No Fun EP. This was released in 1982. This is crucial early stuff. It's just 4 tracks. Corpse Without a Soul, Nuns Have No Fun, Doomed by the Living Dead, and Devil Eyes. But this shows King Diamond and Company in hungry form. You know, it's early stuff, very early. There's a very strong Judas Priest vibe here. But between Denner and Sherman, we've got incredible guitar duo, one of the best. We've got Timmy Grabber on bass and Kim Ruz on drums, just destroying it. But the King, I can't believe how amazing the King sounds. Still does. Can't wait to see him in June in Manchester. Looking forward to that one. But this is really cool. So Metal Blade Records, a few years back, 2020, released the CDs as part of this sort of vinyl replica series. Thought the sticker was cool, so I stuck it in there. This is the only one from that series that I have. Recently showed off the majority of my King Diamond CDs as part of an album ranking. I do have, or did I use the vinyl? Can't remember. I do have all of Mercyful Fate's albums on CD and vinyl. Freaking love them. But this one got this very cool little vinyl replica CD, which is a cool article. It's definitely more of a novelty piece. But it's one of the only releases that I haven't had. So glad to have finally picked up a copy. I know that these tracks do appear elsewhere in other compilations and bits and pieces, but this is a cool one to have. So we've got the Mercyful Fate debut EP. Particularly enjoy A Corpse Without a Soul. That's a great track. And Devil Eyes. The opening and closing tracks are the standouts for me. But it's like 20 minutes of just ripping, excellent, Mercyful Fate, heavy metal. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, Mercyful Fate, their debut EP. Again, that was on EMP. I think it was about $6.99, which is a lot better than elsewhere. I mean, this particular series are like 20 quid on Amazon. Insane. No, that's practically a few quid less than the actual vinyl. Just get the vinyl if you can. So, but still a cool little package to have, nonetheless. So there we have it. A humble collection update. Got some great stuff here between Ensiferum with their folk metal brilliance, Winter Storm. We've got Killswitch Engage with Live at the Palladium. A good recording. You know, something a bit different. Kataklysm, crushing skulls with their absolutely merciless Northern Hyperblast alongside, I think it's the third full-length album or fourth, can't remember. Victims of This Fallen World. Got the Mantas demo compilations. So Death by Metal, which I should have actually specified, includes the Death by Metal demo version 1 and 2 and a rehearsal from early 1984. You know, so much ahead, so much further ahead for its time. Angel Witch, As Above, So Below from 2012. Heavy metal, very doomy, very good stuff. Rippin' Thrash from Enforced. A Leap into the Dark. And Mercyful Fate. Everyone's favourite. One of the most reliable. Freaking love them. Debut self-titled EP. Also known as Nuns Have No Fun. So, my friends, what are your thoughts and opinions on these albums, on these bands? Do you have these articles? What are your thoughts? Let me know. Interested to hear thoughts and opinions of others, as always. Thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate the continued support. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. As I say, the support is very much appreciated. Check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. Until next time, take care of yourselves, my friends. Stay metal and stay freaking heavy.